going on, everybody? It's DisThunder, and today we're going to do a Mezco Toys double feature. We're going to look at the 112 Collective Rumble Society Woodford and Crab Louie figures. We're going to look at them together because there's actually not a lot of back info for me to fill you in on these characters. Hell, I missed one of the prologue comics, so I don't even have the full story for Woodford that's out there. So I decided I'd just do these two together because they're both a couple of weirdos, and they do fit together in the Doc Nocturnal universe, so I guess that works as well. What I do know, Woodford was rescued by Doc Nock from some mad scientist, I think, who was performing experiments on him, and that's how he became his faithful frog servant. And Crab Louie, well, I know even less about. I think he is just probably some kind of affiliate of the Carborn brothers, distant cousins, since, he's a different crustacean, who probably serves as like their enforcer, would be my best guess. And that's really all I know for now, and that seems to be all anybody knows, at least for the moment. I'm sure they'll build on this because they keep doing stuff in the little mini-comics they include. I'm just going to kind of bounce them back and forth between the two of them instead of doing one figure then the other, because that's not the way I put it together in the editor, so I'm just going to fake it till I make it. What I can tell you is both these figures have unique parts to them. In fact, I don't think there's any retooling at all here. Obviously, the head sculpts are about as unique as they get. Starting with Crab Louie's here, you can see that there is some really nice paint work and the little mom tattoo detailing on top of his head. Like, just lots of stuff that, nobody would know if you hadn't done it correctly. And Woodford has two very unique head sculpts. They both apparently are tobacco fans, so they have little inserts for their cigars and their pipes and whatnot. But that also means that Woodford has two distinct looks that you can change him up into, from faithful butler to adventurer type. Let's start with Crab Louie because he has a few less accessories than Woodford to go through, starting with his longshoreman hook with some nice painted details and some little dried blood on there. He also has a large meat cleaver with an equally nice amount of paint details on it. These both go into his right hand, that kind of C-grip hand. There's actually space between the fingers for the longshoreman's hook to fit through. He has a spear that is similar to the Nautilus Crew one, but with some different paint applications. Probably a different sculpt, too, if I'm being honest. Sailor's cap that's magnetic and goes right about where that tattoo is on top of his head. And we've also got a nice little spyglass that collapses. This is definitely different than Nemo's that was more ornate, but it's a nice little nautical accessory. It seems to suit the character. And we have an assortment of other hands that go just for the right hand. Kind of a bummer. I wish that the left hand had an option for something other than the hook, maybe like a mechanical claw. That would seem to fit with the character nicely. For the head, it's like the Carborn brothers. We have a little bit of articulation on like his tendrils and his eyeballs. Head has a decent amount of range considering how oddly shaped it is. There is a double jointed neck, but it's mostly the top joint just because of the size and style of that neck peg. Kind of limits what you can do there. Got double jointed elbows though. Ball jointed shoulder and a bicep cut. And the hook actually can turn a little bit too should you need it. Other side has the more traditional ball jointed wrist that we are used to seeing. Double jointed elbows as well. Double jointed torso. With a decent amount of range. Mine seems a little bit loose, but nothing that can't hold a pose. And that goes for the hips as well. Actually, mine feel pretty secure, but a good range forward, back, double jointed knee. Don't think he has a boot cut, but he does have a decent ankle on like his longshore boots, which are also a nice sculpt. His whole cloth goods setup is pretty cool. I've really come to appreciate these kind of Victorian period style costuming they've been doing of late. They turn out really nicely. Coming over to Woodford, here he is in his servant getup with his eye patch and his pipe. Here is the alternate head that has the option for also the eye patch, but you can also plug in his sighting tool that you would use with his harness that I think I showed in a picture earlier, but I'll show again here. You can also see how the articulated eye works. It lets him go forward and backward, and there is a space in both figures for his pipe. See that gap in his teeth there for it. Moving on from there, we can start talking some of the other accessories he comes with, like his sidearm. A unique little sci-fi pistol that looks like it has like a gas cartridge that goes in the bottom part. He comes with 3 extra of those, and a unique blast effect with a little teeny projectile to push out the end there. There's also a holster for this on his other harness. I wish there was a way you could store on his butler uniform as well. My dumbass forgot I have the holding hand on the figure already that holds his pistol, so We're just going to wait till past me catches up. Oh, wait, no, we're back on track. Here is his serving tray accessory with some, assume, hard liquor on there. That's a variant hand for his left hand. Sorry, let me clean up his suit a little bit here. For articulation, you have a double-jointed barbell for his neck. It's a deep sunk joint. It doesn't stay perfectly all the time, but does okay. There is a ball-jointed shoulder and a hinge and swivel elbow with a decent range of motion, and then ball-jointed wrists. And then there is, obviously same for the other side. I don't know why I'm showing you that. But then we have a semi-ball-jointed hip that allows for actually a pretty solid range out. And then you have hinge and swivel, what do we call that? Like his knee and then his, I guess it's a knee and ankle. It's the same joints. They're just funky because he's a frog. But they all have pretty good range of motion. Here is that same body without the clothing on, so you get a better idea how it works, which I do recommend doing this just so you have an idea where those shoulder pins are. It can avoid some frustration when you're trying to pose those arms, because if you have them turned, obviously you can't get them down by his sides very well. Here is that harness with kind of a Victorian minigun with a drum magazine on it. It also comes with a specialized blast effect. The harness itself snaps on the back like so. I have some, obviously, pictures of it with that. And there is 2 ball joints that allow it to pivot and articulate, so you can obviously sight it with the sighting tool that you can use on his head to replace his right eye. Here is Crab Louie next to Death Adder, and this is kind of where I feel a little disappointed with this figure, if I'm being honest. I was thinking he was going to be a bit more massive, maybe even like the size of Bluto or the size of Slugfest, and instead he's just kind of just a slightly bigger build body than, say, Supreme Knight Batman. I suspect he may be a pre-tool for the Doc Savage figure. I don't know that, but that's kind of the impression I get. In my head, I had imagined him kind of towering over the Doc Knock figures, and as it is, he's just a little bit taller. Now, Woodford, on the other hand, actually turned out to be bigger than I expected him to be, coming up to just under his waist when he's kind of crunched down in his more frog stance. But actually, I think both figures would work in with the Ninja Turtles as well if you wanted to use them as, character building for that universe. Crab Louie would make a decent, imposing foe for the smaller turtles, I think. So one of the big reasons it made sense to do these 2 figures together is because this is kind of an odd pair to recommend. Obviously, you don't have to buy them both. You can get whichever one speaks to you. But they're both incredibly unique as far as figures go. In fact, you're not going to find anything like these 2 anywhere outside of the 112 Collective Rumble Society at all. And as a result, I think consequently they're probably not for everybody. I think that Woodford kind of stands on his own just because it's so wild to get a oversized articulated frog figure for any reason, and to kind of build out that Nocturnal set that he seems like kind of an essential part. So if you have Doc Knock, Woodford makes sense. Conversely, if you have the Carborn brothers, that might make you a little bit more inclined to go with Crab Louie. Of course, he adds to the Doc Knock set as well, but in the adversary role. And again, I was kind of hoping he was going to be a little bit more imposing. As he is, he's just kind of a buff crab guy, and that, I don't know. I was thinking something more monstrous, I guess, in my head. That being said, both figures are incredibly well done and are exceedingly, like I keep saying, unique. So if that's something that you're thinking about getting into, hop on the wait list over at mezcotoys.com, because of course they're both Mezco site exclusives. I hate to do that to you, but you knew that before you clicked on the video. And so there we have it. There is a pretty quick look, kind of nuts and bolts, at Woodford and Crab Louie. Thank you to Mezco for helping me get these guys to take a look at for you, and thanks for coming to watch the video. Hope it was useful. See you again on the next one.